Okay, any further discussion? Mr. Mason?
I think their suggested improvements are improvements. I think it's a tough site. I'm concerned a little bit about the drive aisle back there, but I don't see it being heavy traffic, so as long as two cars don't get caught going opposite directions at the same time, I guess we should be in
I don't
good
think there's
shape.
enough room to pass each other.
Right, exactly. Somebody will be backing up. I guess the county engineer's comments about the things that need to be removed from the right-of-way would need to be part of our conditions if we were to approve this, correct? So the landscaping and the pylon sign would need to come out of the right-of-way, I'm assuming. And as long as the maneuverability works in the back, I suppose it could work.
Okay. Mr. Ruse?
I pretty much reiterate the same thing Mr. Reese is saying. I believe that that particular site is challenging. I mean, it's been sitting vacant for many years. It's been an eyesore. And any improvement that they can do to this property would be great for the neighborhood, I believe, you know. So I'm all for it.
Thank you. Ms. Flanagan?
I think otherwise it's somewhat useless. I'm just trying to figure out, we'd need a variance for the access, would we need a variance for the ISR? And if the fence is theirs, would it need to be brought into conformity with our side yard fences where it's 50% open? Or is it in the right of way and needs to come down?
It's in the right of way.
It needs to come down, okay.
And that's per the engineer's office.
Right.
Where zoning wise, it's there.
But as to the ISR, we'd need a variance there as well?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's why they're going in front of
Right.
zoning commission and the board of trustees, is because of the ISR, is because it's been abandoned for over 2 years, and that kind of dictates the process.
Okay. Mr. Barrett?
I understand it is a challenge to develop it. I've got concern, I guess, that what we're doing here with this access drive, we're kind of stretching about everywhere we can, trying to make this thing work. And I understand what the architect went through trying to pull it together, but I'm just a little leery that in its functional use as a retail location over time, we're going to be, someone's going to be stuck with it. I'm afraid we're going to have long-term issues here with traffic going in and out, especially retail use where customers coming in and maybe he's not familiar with that that parking condition or whatever, and causes problems in there, or it becomes a site that can't be rented out because the tenants walk away from it, and we continue to have an eyesore. Now we have a lot of paving there, and applicants made an investment that's not going to have a good return if we can't rent it. So I would think this would have a better potential to look at where we have consolidated a couple lots as far as a development plan with single ownership. And it occurred a long time ago on Montgomery Road where we had shared parking across a couple parcels. And I think the parcel just south of this appears to be a very similar situation that, not knowing the history on it, that it's a very small tight lot, and that might be something that would be right for consolidation, at least as far as planning goes. The drive bothers me most. The ISR, everything else. There's too many variances I think going on to be comfortable for me to say that I think it's good plans. I would like to see it refined further or come back to its fair personally.
Okay. With regard to it, obviously, we need a landscape plan in the front that's on the applicant's property. Has to come out of the right of way. I'm not as concerned about the drive aisle. I think that one of the conditions I would like to see is that the applicant acquire an easement from the adjoining property owner to make sure that they have sufficient space for the driveway. But quite frankly, a lot of properties along Blue Ash Road face the challenge that they were there some time ago, very close to the road surface, and the right of way has been expanded a little, and I would prefer to see improvements made to the property and a use made of the property rather than having it sit vacant. It's a noble idea to say, well, let's adjoin several adjoining property owners and get a bigger plan. I wish we could dictate that, but we can't. We're faced with the application of this applicant wants to do something to improve the property that's sitting vacant and doing nothing except becoming a bigger eyesore. And I'd prefer to see some improvements made to it, and I think a couple things. I think we need to address in amending the motion to include the requirement that, the ISR is granted a variance, that, the applicant seek and obtain, an easement from the adjoining property owner. My guess is, and I don't know, but my guess is the fence belongs to the adjoining property owner. If it's on the applicant's property, it has to come down, but if it's on the adjoining property owner, we can't dictate that as part of this proceeding. So, if in fact the fence is on the applicant's property, it needs to come out of the right of way. I think another condition maybe that we add is that a sign be posted by the drive aisles that parking is in the rear of the building, so you don't have people trying to park in front of the building. Just make it clear that if you're parking, you've got to pull back the drive aisle and park behind the building. And I applaud your efforts to try to improve this property and to make something useful of it rather than having it sit vacant and potentially causing even greater problems for the township. So, with that said, Ms. Flanagan, if you don't mind amending your,
I think it was Mr. Meese's motion.
oh, excuse
I
me.
wanted to bring up too, according to staff report, an easement would be needed for the eastern property too, if they were intending to use their buffer. Their landscaping was buffer. So that might be one we have to do too.
Mhm.
So the conditions I wrote down are that we'd have to comply with the engineer's recommendations regarding the sign and the landscaping, and to the extent that it's on the property owner's property, the fence. So those three items need to be addressed in the right of way. An easement with the adjoining property owner to create as wide of a drive aisle as possible. You mentioned variance for the ISR. Would there be storm detention required then, or is the property not large enough to need that?
The letter that we got back from the,
Public Works?
Public Works said they'll review it once the application comes
Okay,
through.
so storm so there's obviously no place for above ground storage, or
Definitely not.
somebody's going underground if
Yeah.
need be. And then your comment about a sign directing parking to the rear,
Right.
those are the ones. And then, I guess as a general question, back to my question about non-conforming uses, can we just reference the plan as submitted to cover over any other matters that are non-conforming? Or do we have to specifically grant variances for each item that doesn't comply?
I think it's a challenge if you don't, because then there's nothing that goes along with the approval. So if the conditions address each one of those items that need approval, that's gonna be the best route, because then it goes with this building.
So,
I'm sorry, I'm confused on your response. So we can reference the plan, or we need to list 12 non-conforming items and grant variances for them?
You can approve the plan as submitted with additional items if
Okay.
you like.
Okay.
And then that's gonna basically give variances for everything that I've listed that are non-conforming.
Right.
Okay, perfect. That's all I have.
Okay. So we consider the motion amended with
Yes,
those
please.
items? Okay,
a second.
all right. Any further comments? Me, you wanna take the roll?
Sure. Ms. Flanagan?
Aye.
Mr. Barrett?
No,
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Roos?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well.
Okay, this goes to the trustees, correct, Terry?
June sixth.
Okay. Thank you, applicant, for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Next case on the agenda is, case number 2019-07 MA. The applicant is Nelson Architecture and Interiors, Inc., The property is 7800 Montgomery Road, it's a major adjustment to a PUD. Mr. Holbert, if you give us an update.
And I do have the correct address. Case number 2019-07 MA. The address is 7800 Montgomery Road. The request is for a major adjustment to a PUD. In this case, it's a double E plan district, and also modification to an existing LASR. Location again is 7800 Montgomery Road, the vacant Toys R Us space. The existing use, it's abandoned retail space. The proposed use would be a new tenant with a facade renovation and building signage request. So I've got the applicant's request down below there, and basically they're looking at converting this space into a Best Buy. No exterior additions except for facade. As I mentioned, it is double E, this whole development here. It went through that back in 2015, as my staff report indicated. Enlargement of the space, which is all included in a double E. It is BRE, DDR, Crocodile, Sycamore at 7800 Montgomery Road. An overview of the parking lot in addition to the space. So the space, this is the frontage here, which faces the public parking lot. This is the elevation of the existing. A close-up shot. This is what you see from the I-71 south. I've also, in the PowerPoint, I've shown some additional items that need to conform. One is the backup generator needs to be screened if they plan to continue to use it. Second item is the dumpster, and I don't know that this is their dumpster, but if they plan on having a dumpster, they would need to have a dumpster enclosure. That would comply with the zoning resolution, which would be brick or stone, split face CMU. So here's the proposal. Basically, it looks like they're doing some type of material up here. I don't know what that is. I'll defer that to the applicant, but looks like probably the foundation here, a new facade up here, and then the Best Buy, for lack of a better term, logo. They also have a proposal for signage at 150 square feet on this face of the building. They're also proposing another 150 square feet on this face of the building. The signage, a little bit over 4 feet tall by 34 foot wide on the main front of the building, and then the side of the building which faces, let's make sure that I'm wrong. So this sign faces I-71, this faces the main parking lot. Then conditions that were approved for case 2015-08Z. So I'm just going to go through what I've highlighted there. So condition number 1, any remodeling of the exterior needs to be at least 50% brick or stone. There's also a condition there that no part of the building shall exceed 50 feet above grade. The reason I pointed out is because on that facade, the main area that faces the public park, I just don't have a dimension, and I'm sure the applicant can clarify that. As far as trash collection, I mentioned that shall be screened. Any additional rooftop units shall also be screened. And then per chapter 13 of the zoning resolution, that dictates their signage requirements. And that's per 2011-01 LASR, that since Toys R Us didn't have a specific sign package that was approved, they need to comply with the signage regulations of chapter 13. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Holbert?
Are they taking all of the space that was previously occupied by Toys R Us?
Based on their application, it listed 46,000 square feet. The Toys R Us space was 46,000 square feet, so I think their intent is
We're
yes.
not anticipating somebody else to come in and ask for additional signage.
Not yet.
Gotcha. And you said that they have to comply with chapter 13?
Yep,
Do they?
regarding signage.
Do they? Does the proposal comply with 13?
Oh, it does not, no, they're looking for
150 square feet.
300 square feet. They would get based off their frontage. I don't know what that frontage is. All I had was like professional renderings that were submitted.
So is the reason it's here is mainly not the renovation of the facade, but the signage mainly?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I think that's a big part of if they actually get the tenant. All has to do with signage.
okay, other than the material of the facade.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, they showed, you know, there's some type of renovation here, and that may be the brick or stone to bring it up to compliance with the zoning resolution in the overlay district, but I'll let the applicant kind of describe what that is.
Okay,
In effect, I guess we're modifying the LSR for the property line, of course,
We
is that
are.
what that's,
Yep.
that's more than prepared as tenant space.
Correct. Yeah, the tenant space, when they went through, converting to a planned district, one of the conditions was unless they do these certain things, it can just be approved as of right. Well, in this case, this is actually modifying the LASR, and this elevation of this part of the building may also, I don't think it does, but it may also exceed that 50-foot number. So that's the reason for their application.
I've got a question for you. The other businesses that are on that, in that building that face out, that have signage, what's the square footage on that, of those signs, 150? Do we know?
It varies.
It varies.
Yeah, each one is part of that LASR, and that LASR dictates the sign package. So, for example, the most recent one was the Dick's Sporting Good. They've got 150 square foot times 2 signs. They also have an enormous amount of square footage, and that was one of those things that, you know, went in front of the zoning commission and the board of trustees. They wanted 3 signs. The trustees talked them back down off the ledge. They gave them 2 signs.
okay, any other questions? All right, if anyone is here for the applicant, if you would come up to the chair, the microphone, give us your name and affiliation and any comments with regard to the application.
Hi, my name's Monica Lowry. I'm with Nelson Architecture. I'm here with Jen Stouter, who's the property manager for Kenwood, Kenwood Square. I'm sorry, I blanked with the name change the past couple of years. So she's the property manager there, so she's here representing the owner. So what we submitted today was basically the PUD modification. We are planning to conform with all of the zoning requirements for this location. The only thing that we're really asking for a variance on is the signage. This location, there's no sight lines for the tenant from Kenwood Road. There's no sight lines from Montgomery Road. Their best, the best sight lines for this space is from 71. And from what we've been hearing from the lease negotiations, this deal is contingent upon the signage. We don't feel like we're asking for anything above and beyond what's there. Currently, Toys R Us and Best Buy, they had Toys R Us and Babies R Us, they had 2 signs with a total of 400 square feet. Like Harry said, Dick's Sporting Goods was approved for 2 signs at 300 square feet total. Macy's has 300 square feet of signage. This space is 46,000 square feet, so it's a lot of retail space, and Best Buy is planning to take over all of it. They will be the only tenant here.
What is the material on that facade in front?
The intention is that that's a brick.
Thank you.
And did you hear the question about the height of the structure?
Yes, we intend for that to be well below 50 feet.
Okay, would that include any additional height with the one sign that's shown on there right now?
That will be below 50 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. The height of the existing parapet right now, I believe, is around 27 feet. So we're gonna be below 50 feet.
Okay. Are there any issues about enclosing the dumpster?
No, we were actually planning to enclose the existing trash compactor location. That existing dumpster that's there is actually not part of the future Best Buy space. So that'll be an owner item to make sure that that gets addressed. And as far as the generator, I don't believe that the proposed tenant intends to use that. If for some reason they do, we will address it and make sure it's properly screened.
So is the front, the main facade, you're gonna replace the material that's there or add brick to the exterior?
The intention is to add brick to the existing exterior to reskin that wall. We don't intend to build it out dramatically.
Gotcha.
It'll probably be a thin brick material.
Any questions, any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Ruth?
No, I don't know.
Ms. Ms. Twyman? Mr. Barrett? Okay. Thank you all,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anyone in the audience care to speak with regard to this application, either in support of it or against it? If you do, please step up here. Okay,
I move we consider case 2019-07 as proposed.
okay,
I'll second.
Ms. Any further comments? Mr. Mace?
No, sir.
No. Mr. No. Ms. Wiley? Mr. Barrett? Okay.
Ready?
Mr. Mace, you was taking,
Yes, sir. Ms. Flanagan.
Aye.
Mr. Barrett.
Aye.
Mr. Friedman.
yes.
Mr. Roos.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well.
Okay, this goes to the trustees, same date?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you to the applicants. Next item on the agenda is case number 2019-08Z and 2019-09MA. The applicant is Scott Street Partners 2 for property located at 6333